All right, I will call the Senate Judiciary Committee to order. Will the Secretary please take the roll?
Senator Harris, Senator Orenshaw, Senator Dondero Loop, Senator Wynne, Senator Hanson, Senator Krasner, Senator Stone, Chair Scheibel.
Here, with 5 of us, we do have a quorum, and I would ask that you please mark the senators who are not yet present as they arrive. Thank you, everybody, for bearing with us during this crazy schedule. I know that we have presenters who've been waiting all day to testify, so it was important to me that we all make the time to hear AB 121 today. And just in case you hadn't figured it out yet, between now and Tuesday, this will be happening a lot with committees being rescheduled and pushed. And if there's anything we can do to make that easier for you, let me know. I can't make any promises, but I do try to be flexible with, the bill hearings and things like that. So with that being said, I don't want to delay any further. I'm going to open up the hearing on AB 121. Please go ahead whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Scheibel, Vice Chair Harris, and members of the committee. My name is Venetia Considine, and I have the pleasure of representing Assembly District 18, which is in the southeast Las Vegas and a little bit of northern Henderson. I am here today to present on AB 121. The focus of AB 121 is supporting the mental and physical health of people incarcerated in prison and jails by strengthening connections with and bonds with families. Study after study has shown that having a support system during incarceration has a positive effect on both the incarcerated person and their families. It also helps reduce recidivism. I researched practices across the country and met with people on all sides of this issue. These good conversations led to amendments from all sides, resulting in the bill you have before you. There is one amendment that you should have isn't available on Nellis, and I have copies of it if anyone doesn't have it.
Does anybody need a copy of the amendment? I think we all have it. Thank you.
Fantastic. The amendment adds one word in section 1, and I will explain that as I go over the bill. So. Section 2 of the bill and the amendment adds the word prison in front of anywhere it says institution or facility, because this section talks about mail. It talks about getting tangible physical mail in the prison system for incarcerated people in prison. Currently, the jail system already has scanned mail, so this is not for the jails. Jails are also shorter terms. They're designed to be short-term. Prison institutions and facilities are long-term. Also, they're located far from family. Visiting is difficult due to frequent lockdowns. Nevada prison institutions and facilities are currently providing tangible mail, and this provision continues that practice. And the amendment, again, just adds the word prison in front of institutions and facilities, and that was a request from the Washoe County Sheriffs. So if I don't need to read the whole bill, but essentially it says if an offender is entitled and allowed to receive physical, tangible mail, that they shall be provided the original physical copy of any mail addressed to them. The original physical copy means a letter, card, or other document received by the institution or facility from the U.S. Postal Service or other delivery service. It does not include mail that is scanned, photocopies, or otherwise duplicated by the institution or facility or any entity contracted by the institution or facility to provide such a service. So that's one portion of this bill. Why is getting mail, physical mail, important? It's because it's a tangible connection to family. It's physical. It can be held. If you're getting a card from your spouse, if you're getting a drawing from your child, it has sentimental value. It builds a link to the outside world, and it provides hope for the future. handwritten letter to hold onto, or a drawing, or a picture is a link to the family. It doesn't get taken away every night like a tablet will be taken away. Taking tangible mail away has real consequences for mental health, behavior, and recidivism after release. During the hearing in the other house in February, Director Durenda stated his belief that families have to be connected to offenders before they go home. And he talked about the importance of utilizing the families and their support when you're looking at reentry. Those families have to be connected to the offenders before they go home. Mail is the least expensive and most used form of that connection. It is an important communication between incarcerated people and their loved ones. The director of the Department of Corrections also stated that when talking about video visiting is good, but does not replace in-person visiting. The same goes for mail. Scanned mail is not the same. Email is great, but it does not replace tangible mail. Again, tablets can be taken away every day, and emails, once the tablets go into effect, there will be a cost for every email. Once free mail is sent and the incarcerated person receives that mail, it's theirs to keep. They don't have to pay for it. Further, scanned mail lacks the same meaning. My research shows that scanned mail is often low quality, especially scanned pictures, cards, and drawings. The incarcerated population has a higher percentage of eye problems than the regular population, and tablets can exacerbate that issue. Scanned mail has been received months after it was mailed, and the scanning company, in many cases, is out of state. The originals of those mails are those pieces of mail are then destroyed after scanning, and they're lost forever. Again, just the difference between mail and scanned mail is tablets can be taken away, they can malfunction, the Wi-Fi can go down, whereas tangible mail can be touched and reviewed over and over and over without incurring any additional costs. So that is essentially the reason for Section 2. Section 3 and Section 7 are the same. The reason they're in two different sections is that one of them is for prison institutions and the other is for jails, but it's the same idea for both. This is the requirement for medical release forms at the time of intake. So when anyone comes into that intake process, they are immediately required to fill out a HIPAA form. It is my understanding that someone can write that this information is good for as long as I say it is, to avoid they expire every 6 months. The reason why I have this in here is the remaining pieces of Section 3 and Section 7. If an offender is in the custody of whether it be an institution or a jail, and is hospitalized for or diagnosed with a critical medical condition which requires the offender to stay in a medical facility overnight, the department or jail shall, within 24 hours after such hospitalization or diagnosis, attempt to inform all persons authorized by the current medical release of information form about the health and status of the offender. Subsection 3 is if the offender has a critical medical condition but does not require a stay in a medical facility overnight, the department or jail shall, within 4 hours after the return of the offender to the institution or facility at which the offender is incarcerated, provide the offender with the opportunity to make a telephone call to a friend, a relative, or other person to inform the person about their health status. So in order for these to work, they have to have up-to-date and active HIPAA forms. So that's why those two pieces are in there. And again, this goes back to having the connections with the family knowing what happens to someone that they love that is in jail or in prison and not being able to access that information. This puts a little bit of that responsibility on the institution to make sure that if a person is critically ill, that their family can find out one way or another. And sections 4 through 8, same thing, just the difference between prison and jails. And this was brought to me because there have been issues with obtaining and refilling prescriptions. Some of these stories that I've heard is that an offender sends up a kite because they have a life-sustaining daily drug that they need to take, and when they send the kite up for that refilling of the prescription, that they've gone a month or longer without their daily prescription, which has intense effects on their mental health and physical health. And later, when they're let out and back in the population, puts a burden on taxpayers when they have more health issues than they would have had if they had just been able to continue to take their medication. These sections were created to ensure that incarcerated individuals on daily and/or life-sustaining medications do not face stretches of time without their needed medications. So these two sections essentially say that. So section 4 and 8 are essentially the same. It says if a prescription is new, the prescription is transmitted to a licensed pharmacy and filled as soon as possible. Or if the prescription is a refill, the prescription is refilled on or before the date on which the current supply of the prescription medication is exhausted. So the three parts of this bill: connection to family through tangible mail, connection to family and health and physical and mental health by making sure if there's a critical medical condition or issue that the family is notified either by the incarcerated person or contacted by the department or the jail. And then the third part is if they do have a medical condition that requires prescriptions, that they get those prescriptions in a timely manner. All three of these pieces build those connections or strengthen those connections, help reduce recidivism, and also help them come back into the community, able to get a job, physically, mentally able to build a better life. Because balancing the mental and physical health of incarcerated people with the needs of the community and the needs of the administration of detention facilities is necessary to meet the goals we all want: the reduction in recidivism, supported families, and successful futures for the formerly incarcerated and their children, and healthy families, all of which contribute to stabilized communities, brighter futures, and less financial burdens on taxpayers. Thank you for allowing me to go through this bill. Thank you for everyone who worked with me to make this a better bill, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Questions for the presenters? Senator Stone.
Hi, thank you for the presentation, and I agree with just about everything that you've articulated here today. I think that the nexus and communication with family is very important, especially as they're about to be released, but certainly if they're in prison for a long time, to have those bonds. And I certainly understand the need for seeing the original cards and the writing, the colors, the pictures, which sometimes can't be captured by other means. Are there any provisions, though, with regard to the mail as far as contraband being sent into the prisons or jails? Is there any protections for that?
Yes, that's what they're doing right now. So the point of this is not to change what's happening right now, and that is why it says that the mail that they are entitled and allowed to receive, and anything that includes contraband or it would be caught to begin with, so they wouldn't be entitled to receive that to begin with.
So the personnel is authorized to open the mail and check the envelopes and check the paper for any alleged contraband, and then after that it's forwarded to the person that's in our facilities.
Thank you, Venetia Constantine, for the record, through the chair to Senator Stone.
You can go direct.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Yes, if that's how they're doing it now, that's how it remains. I do want to point out, I know that mail gets a really bad rap about being the avenue for drugs, but through the research that I've done, it is not the top 1 or 2 reasons for contraband for getting into the jails.
Okay, and if I can just follow up on one other issue. I find it very disturbing that a inmate would not get critical pharmaceuticals in a timely way, whether it's a new prescription, maybe the same day of the doctor writing a prescription, but certainly on many mental health drugs that you need to be continuously kept on these. And sometimes with these mental health drugs, if you're off them, you can actually go into a withdrawal different than a opiate withdrawal. There are some antidepressants that if you have a sudden stopping of the drug, you can go through some physical ailments that are rather severe and sometimes require medical intervention. So is this a prevalent problem here in Nevada? I mean, I'm happy to cover it through statute, but have you seen this to be a prevalent problem, or is it on an isolated case basis?
Venetia Constein for the record. Thank you, Senator Stone, for the question. I've spoken to many people, and there are people in support of this bill that will tell you their personal stories, and it is my understanding that it happens often. And one of the reasons that I wanted to bring this was an example that was given to me, someone who was diabetic and was going for periods of time without their insulin, which then affected their eyesight, which then affected other issues. So from my understanding, it happens very often. Which is why it's in this bill.
And following up with that, not giving diabetic medication, insulin, or hypoglycemics can also cause death, which is going to be a lawsuit against the state, which the state is going to be on the hook for, the taxpayers. So I think it's very important that they get the medication protocols that they are prescribed by their respective prescribers. So thank you for being here. It's a great presentation.
Other questions? Senator Orenshaw.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Assemblywoman Considine. It's more of a, maybe a little bit of a question, a little bit of a comment. I've had constituents with loved ones at NDOC who've called me concerned because their loved one, their blood pressure medicine, they weren't getting it, it had run out. And I really like the bill, and I just wonder if this passes, do you think that situation will become more rare? Because I know eventually, I tried to help through LCB, we tried, but it seemed like it took weeks till they were back on the medication they needed and had it. So I'm hoping this bill will help. Do you think this will try to ensure that doesn't happen to folks who are at NDOC?
Thank you for the question, Senator Orenshaw. Venetia Considine for the record. Yes. Now, I also am quite aware that when I started working on this bill, there was a different administrator of DOC, and that the new administrator, we've spoken a couple of times, and I know that that is on his radar, but it is never a substitute for having something in statute, in law, that should be taken care of. So that is the hope for this bill.
Thank you, Assemblywoman. Thank you, Chair.
Other questions? All right, I think those are all of our questions. So we will move to testimony in support, and we're going to start in Las Vegas for our support testimony. So if you'd like to testify in support of AB 121, please make your way to the table and go ahead whenever you're ready.
My name is Sonia Williams, Sonyawilliams. This is my daughter, Jaselyn, Jaselyn. Last name is Newman, Newman. And I'm just going to let her take it over because she's the one who wants to talk or support. I'm in support too, but she's the one.
Hi, I'm Jaselyn Newman, and my dad's name was Eric Newman. I want to show you why marriage is so important. That he got me it for my 4th birthday, for my Mickey Mouse birthday. And that way, Mickey Mouse. And then for my 5th birthday, he got me the unicorn one with lovely white. Then I got him this picture, and that's all.
That's all. See, that's all. I support.
I import.
Thank you so much, Jaselyn. We're a little bit far away. Can you hold up some of those pictures again so that we can see them? I think those are very nice. So thank you for sharing that with us. And if there's anybody else in Las Vegas who would like to testify in support, you can go ahead and take one of those seats and go ahead whenever you're ready.
Hello, my name is Pamela Browning, Browning. I am in support of AB 121. For mail, I was formerly incarcerated, and my daughter used to draw me or color me a picture faithfully every week just so I could see her improvement on staying inside the lines. And I had them all inside my locker, and knows every time I open my locker, it would brighten my day. So I think mail, physical mail, is a very, very important to keep. And as far as the medication, I have a loved one that has been diagnosed pre-diabetic. They gave him his medication, and he ran out. It took him 2.5 months to get his medication, his diabetic medication, and also his high blood pressure. So his mother is passed away from her diabetes. So I think having that medication on them at all times is very important. I am definitely in support of AB 121. Thank you.
All right. I think that's everybody in Las Vegas, so we'll come back up to Carson City for anybody wishing to give support testimony on AB 121. You can go ahead and grab one of the seats up front, and go ahead whenever you're ready.
Chair Scheibel and committee members, my name for the record is Andrew Lee Pilbit, and I am the chairman for the UVLC, United Veterans Legislative Council. We represent the 279,000 veterans in our state, and when you take into account their immediate families, that's over 500,000 Nevadans, or about 16% of our state's population. And we're here representing in favor of 121 as it supports our incarcerated vets, even though it's a very small number. They're all the veterans we're looking to take care of and help. And this makes them more productive when they have a connection to their family, their partners, and their children. And we think that they'll be more able to avoid recidivism. I didn't say that correctly, but you know what I mean. And it's a big deal with our vets. A lot of our vets that have ended up incarcerated are a result of their war wounds, both mentally and physically. And each of them receiving their drugs is a very big deal. And thank you, Senator Stone. You are right. It is a critical element to their care and their health when they get out of prison. So we support AB 121. Thank you.
My name's Nicole Williams. I am here in support of AB 121. I want to express how important receiving mail is to my husband, myself, and to so many others that have loved ones that are incarcerated. Unfortunately, our daughter and I are unable to visit due to the cost to travel since he's housed over 500 miles away. We regularly write, and she draws and sends pictures to him. He also writes to us, and she loves being able to check the mail to see what Daddy wrote or drew back to her. These things most of us typically take for granted are huge for us and allow us to stay and feel connected. It helps us mentally, and it allows him to feel human and be part of the important milestones with his daughter while he is away and not physically present. It helps maintain our family connection. I think about the people that are serving long sentences, have life, or even on death row, and how important mail is to them. Just to be able to hold a card, letter, drawing, or picture that your family member or friend touched, and to feel the indent of the pin marks on the paper, along with the smell of something other than a cell or prison, is something that they need and have to look forward to. Mail is the most reliable and for many people the most affordable means of staying in touch with their families. Please ensure through legislation that physical mail will not be taken away. Scanned or electronic mail is not the same. Thank you.
My name's Crystal Voigt, Crystal, last name V as in Victor, Oight. First, I want to thank you for your time. My fiance is currently incarcerated at NDOC, and I wanted to show you how important written mail has been to our relationship. Over the last 3 years of our relationship, written mail has been the one consistent form of communication. From the COVID lockdowns to current staffing shortage, mail is the only guaranteed way of our communication. Imagine being locked down in your cell for days or weeks at a time, and when they come to your door with mail, it's the one thing that you can look forward to. Not only for him, but for me as well. When Informed Delivery emails me that I have a letter coming that day, I'm excited to rush home and to get the letter. He's also an artist and sends me beautiful drawings that I hang on my wall at work. His art is one of the things that makes me feel closer to him. We write each other about our plans, our goals for the future, and also ways that we will handle hard situations when he comes home. These letters are important to the success of his release. Some of the things I send him are workshop activities that I find online or in my work training, and I wouldn't be able to send them through electronic. We want to be able to refer back to these when he's home, so all the hard work he's doing now will be a resource for him when he comes home. Please take into consideration how important written communication is on on the loved ones and the families that are supporting. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Jody Hocking, Jodihockking, and I'm the founder and executive director of Return Strong. I don't know, would it be okay if I just answer two of the questions? So, Senator Stone, you had asked a couple of questions, and I don't work for NDOC, but I can give you some answers. In terms of like what happens or what could happen regarding contraband, the facilities director Zorenda and I have talked about it several times, and they can scan mail for unauthorized substances. So if it's not ink or paper, it can be tagged as an unauthorized substance. They still would be able to do that, but they would then, if it wasn't like contraband or contaminated, then the physical mail would go on to the incarcerated person. Otherwise, it would be unauthorized. So I think, does that answer that question? The other question regarding medical, like the prescription refills. So prior to, I don't know the exact date that the policy changed because I wasn't planning on answering the question, but at some point during Director Daniels' administration, there was a policy change that created a policy that instead of prescription refills being automatic so that they would be refilled, it was changed so that people had to submit a request for the refill. And that is when the problem started really escalating, because now it was taking 3 months, 6 months, 9 months to get a prescription. And that is where we became aware of when that policy changed. So I don't know all of the specifics about it, but those are the kind of the answers to those two questions, if that's okay. Now I'll start my stuff. I just cheated so that I could have extra time, just so you know. I wanted to, well, I'm Jody Hocking, so we'll start over now. In talking about the importance of mail, we saw Jacelyn, and I want to just clarify, Jacelyn's dad died at High Desert. So he had cancer, and what Jacelyn has left from her relationship with her father is the artwork that they shared. And I remember when Sonia and Jacelyn went to pick up his belongings from NDOC, Jacelyn was like rifling through all of the letters and pictures and everything in the backseat of the car, because I was on the phone with him, and she got like super excited, and she was like, "Mom, my dad did love me best of anybody." And what she found were not only the letters, like she had the letters he sent to her, but he had kept every scribble that she had written or any, and taking away those physical connections is very difficult. I think for prison families, like, is such a critical way of how we maintain connection. 15-minute phone calls that are rushed and pressured, like, they all matter, but letters and those things really have a significant difference in how we maintain connection. I want to give one more example, and it's really all I'm going to say today. So I don't know if everybody is aware, and I'm sorry if I can't hold it together, but a member and a family that is very close to us died a few days ago. There's an investigation into it. I'm not going to go into that, but his name's Christian Walker. He's a phenomenal person. You talk to incarcerated people. He was somebody who made a mistake when he was very young and ended up in prison. 1 year ago today, he wrote us a 22-page letter that told his life story, the impact his parents had on him. His mom was a school bus driver in Clark County. She's never seen this letter, and her son was just killed in prison at the edge that he was going to come out. We're taking all of those letters and giving them to her. She hasn't seen them, so now, 1 year to the date after that, she's going to be able to have all of that memorabilia of, even though he wasn't writing it to her, he was writing about her, and it's a different level. It's like a bio, a story of his life, and he called it his journey from Chris the boy to Christian the man. and it's phenomenal. I'm hoping that he gave us permission to publish it back then, of course, not ever knowing that this was going to happen a year later. And so it's just been really like, the whole situation has been weighing on my heart really the past few days. And as I read that letter before coming here today, I just felt like it's yet another example of how important that letter is now going to carry on for his mom, because we could never have seen that for the future. And so I appreciate your time and for allowing me to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Scheibel and committee members. My name is Nick Shepak, S-H-E-P-A-C-K. I am the State Deputy Director of the Fines and Fees Justice Center. Not that we need more reasons to support this legislation, but in our research into NDOC, one of the questions we asked in the survey that we presented on Friday was how many people have been charged man-down fees, so emergency medical fees, because they did not have access to their prescriptions in a timely manner. And 10% of all respondents we had reported this. Now, we had about close to 400 people, so we're talking about 37, almost 40 individuals who specifically have had medical emergencies due to not receiving their prescriptions on time. So I do believe that this is a real issue that needs to be addressed. And secondly, the only way we got that information was through sending in physical copies of surveys, allowing individuals to write on them, send us back letters, and then send them back. I do not know how this could possibly work in an email form or a tablet form, and that information is critical. We were able to follow up with individuals. It was very important. So you can see it from very different angles, maintaining this connection through physical mail, and then addressing these other issues is very important. We strongly support this legislation and hope you do too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shepak. I think we have a question, if you're willing to answer one from Senator Hansen.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Nick, I've been reading the lady's book who testified the other day that was the prison lady in for 30 years. What was fascinating is the difficulty they have to get anybody to work in the prison. The stuff you're talking about with the medical, improper distribution of drugs and so forth, do you have any idea how much of that is caused by lack of staffing in the prison? And also, because when I read her book, the thing that disturbed me the most was how difficult it is to get anybody of any quality, because obviously if you got a medical license, to practice in a prison versus out in the private sector, I mean, the salaries are so different. So how much of this is based on, how do I say it politely, just, very low quality doctors or medical people in the prison systems?
Nick Shepak for the record. So, part of that would be a better question for Director Zuenda. I do believe, however, that there's a difference between two types of medication. There's keep-on-person medication, which is medication that is given to an individual. They get a month's supply. These are like non-narcotic drugs. These are not like all the psychoactive drugs, right? Insulin, stuff like that. Then there's pill call, which is a daily occurrence for those drugs that you would not necessarily want an individual to have a 30-day supply of. What we're not hearing major problems with is that daily pill call. What we are hearing problems with is that prescription refill. So in practice, you should be able to, through that daily pill call, refill those prescriptions in a timely manner. However, how much of this has to do with staffing and how much of this has to do with policy would be a great question for the director, and I can't speak fully.
Fair enough. Is anybody from DOC here today? Nobody. Yeah, okay. I'll have to chase them down and ask. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And I think they would have been available if we'd met at our normal time, so we can certainly follow up with them later.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. Jason Walker, Jason Walker, representing the Washington County Sheriff's Office, testifying in support of AB 121. I'd like to thank Assemblywoman Considine for her availability and communication back and forth as we work through some of our concerns that brought us to our position of support. And in speaking on the behalf, again, of the Washington County Sheriff's Office, no known issues on our end for somebody not getting a prescription refill, to my knowledge. I will certainly check into that and follow back up. And again, staffing is an issue all over. So again, thankful and testifying in support.
Good afternoon, Chair Scheibel, members of the committee. Greg Herrera for the record, G-R-E-G, last of Herrera, H-E-R-R-E-R-A, representing Nevada Sheriffs and Chiefs. We're in support of Assembly Bill 121 and would also like to thank Assemblywoman Considine for the communication and working with us on this bill. We believe that the bill is a good compromise to ensure that loved ones are notified of the condition, those incarcerated in a timely manner, and also the 24-hour notification gives adequate time for the proper planning and communication with hospital staff to be able to ensure a safe environment. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Scheibel, members of the committee. My name is Beth Schmidt, S-C-H-M-I-D-T. I represent the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. We support AB 121. We appreciate Assemblywoman Considine. She spent a significant amount of time with all of the stakeholders, and what we see today, that commitment that she put forth, is the result of what this bill is today. I do want to also say that we do not have known issues of our inmates not getting their medications, but that is something that we will follow up, and we will just ensure that that is not an issue. And the LVMPD supports AB 121.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Erica Roth, E-R-I-C-A-R-O-T-H, on behalf of the Washoe County Public Defender's Office, testifying in support this afternoon. I had something else kind of prepared, but as I was listening to the stories of those impacted people this afternoon, I thought about my own father, and while he was alive, one practice that he had was to put the most important things that he had to tell somebody in a letter in writing. And I think it touches on why it's so important to have physical mail. It is different. It's something that you can hold on to forever. I still have all of those letters, and it's something that's really important when you have that distance and inability to have that connection with somebody. So, I think this is a matter of humanity, and a phone call simply isn't enough, and I urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. John Pure from the Clark County Public Defender's Office. This is a great bill. I'd like to thank the Assemblywoman for bringing it forward. And just like my colleague, Ms. Roth, I'm older than most of my contemporaries. I was in the Army pre-cell phone, and so letters are what I really looked forward to. And those are things that you could reread numerous times, and it kept your spirits up while you were waiting for the next one and exchanging it. And I just think this is a great bill that goes a long way. And I will continue to say how we treat people when they're in will affect how they come out. And this is a good way that goes towards rehabilitation. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Lilith Barron, the ACLU of Nevada. I echo the sentiments of everyone who said it so eloquently before me, and I always love to be on the side of wonderful policy where the sheriffs and the public defenders and everyone is making great laws together. So I urge you to pass this bill. Thank you.
Thank you all. Is there anybody else wishing to give support testimony in person on AB 121 in either Las Vegas or Carson City? I do see some people just came into the room in Las Vegas. Of course, at this hour, who knows what was originally scheduled to be happening in that room right now. So I will go to the phones, and if anybody does want to testify, they can go ahead and come to the seats, but we'll go to the phones for testimony in support of AB 121.
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to testify in support for AB 21, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Tanya Brown, spelled T-O-N-J-A-B-R-O-W-N, Advocates for the Inmates and the Innocent. We strongly support AB 121. We would like to thank Assemblywoman Considine for bringing this crucial piece of legislation forward. And I just want to make a few comments dealing with some of the sections, being that I personally have had a loved one incarcerated. The personal connection with the mail and the artwork is so beneficial, not only the inmates, but their families. I still have that physical mail from going back from 1989 to 2009 for the 21 years my brother spent in prison. I can tell you that I occasionally bring it out, look at, touch it, read it. I have artwork on my walls that I absolutely love. I will tell you that I know what it is like as a loved one to get a call, or not even a call from the NDOC, but to have an inmate call me and tell me that something has happened to my loved one, not knowing what is happening. And at that time, I was in direct contact with Director Skolnick. So I did have some access to find out some information, much more than the average person on the outside. Anyways, to hear from NDOC that your loved one has, his organs were shutting down, he has slipped into a coma, and he's not expected to live through the weekend. But make sure to call back on Monday and we'll tell you his condition. You have no idea what it was like for the families to hear something like this, not knowing if your loved one was alive or dead. This is very important, and I'm so pleased that it is in the bill. And also the, like I said, the mail and the prescriptions, again, I still get information from inmates. They are not getting their medication. But again, I want to thank you very much for this bill, and have a good day.
Hello, my name is Amelia Booth, and I'm in support of the bill. I have a loved one in Ely, and I know that they were going to take away the paper mail and start scanning back in October, I think it was. And I just remember him being in almost a panic because of how much he looks forward to touching the letters. I think Crystal was expressing the same thing, that you can feel almost the indents on the paper as, he would read along with the words that were written. And I know when I receive mail from him, I can smell him, and so I'm assuming a similar thing is shared with him as well. So it's vitally important, I think. And then also with the medication, especially with this short staff, maybe it would be so beneficial if they could keep on themselves their medication and get those refills quicker. Thank you for your time.
Anne Marie Grant, Advocates for the Inmates and the Innocent, ANNEMARIEGRANT. I'm calling in support of AB 121, and I'd like to echo the other testimony in support of the bill. It is care and custody, speaking to the medical piece of it. We have had serious allegations by a prisoner at High Desert State Prison in Indian Springs regarding lapses in refilling his necessary prescriptions. Several documented lapses, and he has filed grievances which are improperly rejected. And this inmate maintains that important grievances involving matters of life and death, such as obtaining medications, are being rejected. The grievance of lapses in his medication should not have been rejected without trying to rectify the situation. Failure to properly address grievances also prevents the prisoners from filing civil actions, because such actions require exhaustion of administrative remedies. Again, it's care and custody, and I appreciate the sponsor of the bill. Thank you.
That concludes callers testifying in support.
All right, it looks like someone's joined us down in Las Vegas. Are you here to give support testimony on AB 121?
Yes, I am.
Please go ahead.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time. My name is Katrie Saunders. I'm here in representation with CPR and also Vice President of Pardon Me Please. I also work with Last Prisoners Project on prison reform, and I really feel like it's important to be in favor of this bill because our loved ones, friends and family that have been incarcerated need to be able to have safe access to their mail and other services that'll help them have a better situation while they're being incarcerated. Especially, I know I have friends that are incarcerated for nonviolent cannabis crimes, and they should be able to have safe access to just normal day-to-day activities, which is mail, knowing that someone is loved for them on the outside. It provides support for their mental well-being while they're incarcerated. So I'm in favor of this bill, and I thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much for joining us. That brings us to the conclusion of support testimony. We will go to testimony in opposition to AB 121. Anybody wishing to give opposition testimony is invited to the front in Las Vegas or Carson City, but I don't see anybody, so we'll go to the phones for testimony in opposition to AB 121.
If you would like to testify in opposition for AB 21, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. We have no callers testifying in opposition at this time.
All right, then we will go to testimony in neutral on AB 121. Anybody wishing to give neutral testimony is invited to the front in Carson City or Las Vegas, but not seeing anybody, we'll go to the phones for testimony in neutral.
If you would like to testify in neutral for AB 21, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. We have no callers testifying in neutral.
All right, then that brings us to the conclusion of testimony. It looks like the bill sponsors don't have any further comments, so that closes the hearing on AB 121. Thank you all for your participation, and that brings us to the last item on our agenda, which is public comment. If there's anybody wishing to give public comment in person, you're invited up to the table in Carson City or Las Vegas. But I don't see anybody coming up to give public comment, so instead we will go to the phones where anybody wishing to give public comment will have 2 minutes per person to speak on any topic unrelated to the bill that we heard today. Any topic within Judiciary's jurisdiction, the stuff we cover.
If you would like to provide public comment, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Anne Marie Grant, ANNEMARIEGRANT. My brother Thomas Purdy was murdered by Reno Police and Washoe County Sheriff's Office. I was trying to make public comment the other day, but got cut off due to technical difficulties. What I wanted to say was, when I think about dedication to truth and justice, I think of Miss Tanya Brown. It's appalling to me. As a citizen, that for her brother died in 2009, but since 1989 she's been trying to clear her wrongfully convicted brother, and she's taken it to every avenue she's supposed to in the state of Nevada, and nobody wants to. It doesn't seem like anybody is doing anything about it. Just because someone died in prison does not make it any less of a horrible travesty to justice that they were wrongfully convicted and their life was taken from them by the state of Nevada. And the stigma that the family carries. If her brother was guilty, Miss Brown would be the first one to say it and would not have been fighting for change for all these years. And I have respect for her because through her fight for justice, she's helping other people, other inmates. She's not just focused on herself. She's been able to do good for others, but it's time for the state of Nevada to do something about the wrongful conviction of Nolan Klein. I mean, all you have to do is read the book. The evidence is there that was withheld from a jury. Had a jury seen all the evidence, Mr. Klein would not have been convicted. I urge you all to take a look and read the book to prove his innocence, and to read all the documents that Ms. Brown has submitted year after year to every single committee, the ACAJ, the Pardons Board. You name it, she's done it. Please. Thank you.
That concludes callers for public comment.
All right, then that brings us to the end of our agenda. I think Vice Chair Harris wants to make some remarks.
Yes, thank you so much, Chair Scheibel. For those watching and those on the committee, Growth and Infrastructure will be happening right now.
All right, so make your way over to Growth and Infrastructure for more legislative happenings. And we will be meeting, we do have two bills on the agenda for tomorrow. It is my intent to meet tomorrow. And we will do our best to keep everybody updated on what time that meeting is going to be. So I appreciate everybody's cooperation. And with that, we are adjourned.